Well, I think I've done about as much damage as I can to this. Meaning I think it's finished. And we're happy. You know, I needed to tidy things up a little bit. I was a little worried about this line going off the edge of the canvas. And, you know, it doesn't shout at me. So I think I'll leave it. But I've simplified this area a little bit, changed it a little bit. I had a couple little triangles. Too much monotony, too much repetition of a similar shape. That's better now. Came in with, what was it, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, bit of yellow ochre, hint of white along the top here to lighten it so that you can see that there's a little bit of color here. And then we're allowing some moisture to show up. That was me leaving some of the cobalt blue in place. At that point, it still seemed as though that cobalt blue seemed like a bit of an outlier. You know, maybe it was me, I don't know, but that's kind of how I felt about it. So I actually put one stroke of these colors right across here. Not the whole painting, it fades off to the left. Put something here so that we have it elsewhere in the painting instead of just there. To me, that solved it. Then I wanted to finish the water, which is now done. And I was so tempted to put in so many different little highlights here and there. No, I think that would be a mistake. We want to keep this simple and strong. The very top line here, before you get to the rock, was a little too low in value. And it gave those rocks the effect, the feeling of as if they were floating above the water a little bit. They didn't feel as though they were part of the water. So, of course, the water sits in front of the rock, so I raised the value and went in there with a little bit of ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and white. Okay, let's start at the bottom. I'll go through colors. Okay, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and white. That goes for, and cobalt blue just on this one streak. That goes for all of the water. Where what was put, I'll leave that for you to figure out. These rocks back here at the distant shore, oh yeah, that's another thing I did. I put a little more light on these trees here and a little more light on these rocks. Not to have strong shots of highlighting, but the rocks needed a bit of division. They were just kind of flat feeling. So I added a couple of lines here and there and raised the value on certain areas so that they feel a little more sculpted now. There's more shape to them than I think there was before. So yeah, I'm happy with that now. Okay. Yes, so these rocks. Ultramarine blue. Touch of cobalt blue. Raw umber. Touch of burnt sienna. Very small touch of alizarin crimson. And white. But all muted, all toned down. All of these trees, all of them. Ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and white, except again for these trunks, which have a bit of raw umber, a bit of ultramarine blue, mostly burnt sienna, and white, titanium white. These rocks, cobalt blue, a little bit of ultramarine blue, raw umber, by far mostly raw umber, you know, up in here. And then down to here, and white. And then this section here, we've got raw umber, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and white, and actually a little bit of alizarin crimson as well in a few spots. Just a sampling of it. You know, mixed in with a little blue here, it goes a little more purple, goes a little warmer and browner here. Here, you know, just trying to give it some variety. And then our average sort of colors for this most foreground dome of rock would be raw umber and white. and a bit of yellow ochre here and there, and ultramarine blue. But as you can see, they're much warmer. I've laid some highlights in here as well, which are yellow ochre, raw umber, and no yellow ochre, raw umber, ultramarine blue, and white. But just hints of the color, you know, mostly white by far. I haven't raised the value on the streak of water or these rocks anywhere near as much as this. This is still my highest value. I was intending on putting more glow here, but I think no, there's a lot of meat and potatoes here. There's a lot going on. This, as nice as it is, does not, you know, to my eye, it does not compete with any of this. So I left it. I didn't want to punch this up too much more. It is punched up more than it was in the last video. These trees, well, I've already explained that. The sky has a whole plethora of, or plethora, depending on how you say it, of colors. If there's ultramarine blue in that sky at all, it's not much. The blue that went into making the purple will be mostly cobalt blue, and of course alizarin crimson, and there will be raw umbers, there will be yellow ochre, and obviously titanium white, fairly intense in some areas. I mentioned yellow ochre, titanium white, alizarin crimson, raw umber. Yeah, that's it. Again, it's up to you to sort out where what is. Obviously, this is so blended that you know, the whole thing has to work together as one. But I can't, you know, I'm not going to say, well, this stroke has, well, it's obvious, you know, a little more red here, a little more purple down here, hints of red, just hints of them. And then we have a little bit of like this stroke would be yellow ochre, alizarin crimson, and some white, contaminated with a bit of blue, just a bit of blue, and then coming into here we've gone almost straight white, but there is still a little bit of yellow ochre in there. That's it. That's it for this one. Oh, you know what? What if I do a zoom? I'll wander across the canvas with a little bit of a panning, a zoom and a pan. Now things will get shaky. I'm happy with the motion in the sky, the movement up there. I like that quite a bit. Yeah, very satisfied. You know, even there, I had that crevice going down the rock, and it was just too strong. It was too much of a divider. I wanted to unify those two bulk chunks of rock together, so I closed that hole a little bit. And I like the feeling of that, you know, those rocks still being pushed in the background, a little lower value, and yeah, just a suggestion of moisture rising up from the water that's behind this band of rock that's sticking out. And varieties of blue. Almost every stroke as you come to the foreground is a little bit different, changed a little bit different. Different proportions of color in it. And that's how you know it's finished. It's coming upstairs to live with me now for a minute. For the time being. And I don't know if my battery's going to last here. It seems to be on its last bar. If not, we'll see you soon. But if so, then I'll just keep blithering here for a moment. I did this, I stained this one the other day. This canvas, you know, it was a few dollars cheaper than the one that I just finished with the brush. But it's a lot toothier. It's as though this one they just stretched the canvas, or they just primed it, and that was it. The other one, it's as though they primed it and sanded it slightly, and maybe even gave it a second coat of primer. That is the way that it should be done. I like the texture. I like seeing and feeling the texture of the canvas, but I don't want all kinds of little fluffy things exposed that when you put the primer on, they become hard little pricks, hard little blobs sticking out. So yeah, this is, you could wear the skin off your hand if you kept doing that. But I think I'll jump into this. I'm going to have a look at it. I'm going to try to make a decision as to what to do on it. If I come up with something, I'll start a drawing. And I'm probably going to jump into it with a knife. It's autumn now, so maybe an autumn scene. Something for the fall. Anyway, guys, we'll see you soon.